Okay, we're calling the roll. Commissioner Moore.
Here. Sorry.
Randy.
Here.
Wilson, here. Don Eden, here. We have 3 members here, 2 members absent. I declare a quorum, so let's start the meeting.
Fantastic.
Call the meeting to order, and if we follow our regular protocol, we'll do the EMA report first, and I think you're going to do it. So.
Good afternoon, everyone. As you see in front of you is our monthly numbers. On our MBAs, there was several fatalities in the county the past month. There was several commercial vehicle wrecks, 2 of which were overturned and was required cleanup companies. We had 3 structure fires in the county, which for us, we also fight fire for them. We carry gear, so we assisted in fighting fire. Illegal burns. We had 2 of those where we had to call the Tennessee Department of Agriculture on. And then, of course, we have our annual swiftwater rescue that we seem to be doing every month now. There is a section in this river where there is a tree in the river. So with having this tree in the river, when the water floods up high, it's just tipping them over in the canoe. Well, when the water is up too high, the airboats are not able to get over there, so we're physically having to get into the water to be able to pull them out of the water on the shoreline. This rescue, for the 3rd one that I've been here on this tree, this was the most risky one that we've done. Due to the nature of how high the water was up, we actually had to put the 2 patients through the tree in order to be able to get them out. That is worst case scenario. We don't like to do that, but we had no other option. They were able to come out perfectly fine. One went onto the airboat, was able to be taken downstream. The other one came out and TWRA was able to take them back to the boat docks. Let me see, our Homeland Security meeting, we've went over our yearly Homeland Security grant program. Each year we receive around $20,000 to $22,000 a year, and that covers all of our training that we use, our equipment, any extra fundings. Each year that we've received this, it's getting stricter and stricter. We're down to $17,000 this year. $1,600 of which last year's grant and this year's grant will go to EMS to supply cameras to their outer stations. And then the rest of it, we are upping our hazmat equipment because it's out of date. So we're putting to resupply all of our hazmat equipment along with training. And our special ops team, we had a training with our USAR dogs, and we went out to Travis Price Park. We normally try to, if we've had trainings in this particular area, we invite other fire departments. This go around, it was a new training for our team with the dogs, so it was just the team strictly, so we done that. And also, the budget committee greatly gave us a 2022 Chevy 2500 HD crew cab to replace my vehicle.
Gas.
Yeah, gas. Oh, wait. Yes, and
We hadn't ordered, you hadn't got it yet.
no,
We've got to order it.
we will be.
It's in the budget.
Yeah, it is already PO has been wrote,
Right.
and it'll be purchased July because with it being in 2022, it doesn't come off the lot. That also included all the lights for it and some of the radios. Now, out of our budget, we will have to do the brush guard that goes on the front and 2 other radios that go in there. I think that's it.
Any questions or comments from the EMA
When that
report?
river gets low, we not cut that tree out there?
Every time we pulled people off that tree, that is what they tell us every time.
Is it Red River?
It
Okay.
is. And it's where there's an island over on the right hand side and a small island on the left. There's a channel that runs in between it, and there's a channel that runs on the outside of it. Well, the channel that runs on the outside of it is a deeper section, so it holds more water. So when it floods, that's where that tree is. That's where they get hung up at. Yeah, that was a rough rescue. That could have been completely bad.
Being familiar with the river, if you wait long enough, it'll eventually take care of itself, but that might take decades.
How many rescues between that?
Yeah. Especially with one of our people that we were pulling off the river, she couldn't swim. So that just,
Did you get your airboat fixed?
no, not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. The other boat is there, capable. We've been running into issues with, which we're going to sit down with Ray and TWRA again. There's a power struggle on that end of whose call it is. And when it's on the waterway, it belongs to TWRA. So they have the call of who does what. And so normally it takes a minute for us to get our boat out there because of power struggles of who's going to be in charge of the scene. So
Is the tree grounded and fallen over from the ground, still connected to the ground?
it is connected. The problem, because we had we were going to try to have them climb out that direction since it is grounded. However, the way that the tree is placed into the ground and the height of it and the size of it, they physically could not climb across. And then they couldn't go out because all the rest of the side's branches. So, I mean, it's a big.
Oh, like the root structure is too tall, they can't climb over all
Yeah,
that.
it's a big, big tree.
A good ambitious man with a chainsaw can take care of that.
Guarantee I could. I know you
Patty
could.
Pippin could.
Somebody needs to, because it's going to end up, what's going to end up taking is somebody's going to get killed on a tree.
That's why I was asking. I mean, it looks like it could be.
If there are no other questions or comments, I'd entertain a motion that we enter this report into the record.
I'll make a motion we enter it.
Thank you, Commissioner Wilson. I hear a second.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Moore. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Let's go right into your report, Josh.
All right, hello everyone. So for the month of March was pretty busy for us. We had 991 calls for service with an estimated 562 billable transports. That's up from the previous month and previous transports, roughly 75, 80 runs there. Interfacility transfers, so from Northcrest to Nashville for the month of March, we had 64. In-county zone coverage standbys, we had 140, so that's 140 times we moved a truck from one station to another area of the county to provide coverage because all the trucks were out. Mutual aid standby response for Cheatham or Sumner County, we had 10 of those, so we were covering 911 services for another county. To date, for all of 2021, we have 2,817 calls. So that's almost 400 more than we've had at 2020 this month. And total transports is 1,735. And we've got the call volume breakdown by truck. Of course, station 1 has one of the busiest trucks. Station 3 was really busy. They actually beat most of the other Station 1, the Springfield truck. So Station 3 is our rich top truck, but everybody was pretty busy. If you turn the page in the packet, I've got our total record volume. You kind of see we had some spikes there for the month of March. So I've circled our highest days. So our average call volume is around 40 to 45 calls a day. See, we had 3 days there. We're 52, 50, and 61. 61 was actually a record for us. However, it did not stand for very long because I know we're not talking about April, but April 7th, you'll see on the next page, we had an all-time high in the history of the county, 81 911 calls in one day. So we ran out of ambulances multiple times throughout the day. So we had to have them
Was
run.
it something special? Was it?
I have no idea. And it wasn't just us. Cheatham,
Yeah.
Sumner, my wife is an ER provider in Clarksville.
Springtime,
It
pretty
was
weather,
the busiest
rainy
day
weather?
all around. I don't know if something was in the water that day, but it was crazy.
Well, let me ask this before I forget it.
Yes.
I would guess that 991 for a month is a record too.
That's up there. I'd have to look
I've never
up
seen
the
anything
exact month,
Yeah, I
but
think if it's not, it's very close.
yeah.
All right,
I would say it's like,
just take a minute, because I think we can zoom through this meeting, no pun
Okay.
intended. But how, I mean, it's really hit me in the face that out of that 991, 350 of them roughly, we didn't bill a penny for.
That's correct. So we are
Help.
seeing we're seeing a massive uptick in calls where somebody will call 911. For example, we went out to a house out in the Coopertown area. The lady asked to be moved over 6 inches in her bed. We go to calls every single day. We've probably been to 10 of them today where somebody just fell out of their wheelchair and needs help up. And it's these same patients multiple times over and over and over again.
Okay.
So,
That's because they don't have any caregivers that can even get them up.
sometimes that's correct.
Thank you, Commissioner Moore. Well, those are the very ones that was the straw that broke the camel's back for us going to charge what we're going to charge.
Correct.
And we're going to start charging that in,
We have, attached
you
that.
going to talk about that?
Yeah.
Okay,
we'll
okay,
talk
just hold
about
that thought.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So, but I mean, all of the 350 wasn't somebody that fell out of the
They're
wheelchair.
not all that. Some of those are, we go to a lot of car accidents, for example, where if somebody's injured, it's very minor, but we get called out there and they don't want to go with us. We get called, the police department will call us for like a psych patient, for example. We don't transport those patients.
For
A psychiatric problem.
psychiatric.
So we only transport those if there's a medical reason, they've taken some drugs, they need to be sedated, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, but if you average it, Josh, it's 10 a day.
Oh.
That was just almost wasting our time. But of course, we don't know that in advance. I understand all that.
Yeah. No,
Correct.
Is that in any way keeping us from billing more billable hours, more than we normally got, more than the other 500 and so much that we got this month?
Yeah, I mean, we can't bill.
I know we can't, but is that keeping us from billing more?
No, I
doing
mean, we're
something
not
else?
losing runs to do that,
Okay.
something that was billable.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're not losing anything. I mean, sometimes there's competition for time and you've got trucks that are out and, then you get calls that, for
Yeah.
something that needs to be done.
Yeah.
But, sometimes, like Josh said, when all the trucks are out, during those, one of those days, 2 or 3 of them may have been on calls that we can't bill for.
Yeah.
But, then the next thing that happens is one calls in at
Yeah.
NBC that we need
Okay.
to transport.
Okay, that answers my question, but everybody knows this imbalance we got because we made the decision to add the 4th truck. One thing that will cure it is if we can bill more billable runs.
It'll help.
Okay. No, it will cure it. It won't help it. It'll cure it.
You won't, no, because you won't get
You'll never cure it.
the level of charge that you're going to get from something that's transported. So, our average, once y'all go into it, but our average collection, or charge for the same month was $805. And we're talking about charging a minimal amount just to really get something. So it won't cure it, but it'll help.
Well, I'm talking about curing it when you look at how much we spend at the EMS department and how much we get back.
Mhm.
Remember the old days we used to brag about 50%? Well, we've long lost that. So that you've answered my question though. Thank you. So keep going.
All right. So, but again, so that's our call volume. Then you can turn to the fleet maintenance. So most of the maintenance for the month of March was pretty standard stuff. We did have one truck that had to have a knock sensor and some AC repair, so that was $787. Another truck had a hydro booster problem. That one was a biggie. That was $1,600, but the other ones are just average maintenance. So our fleet's in pretty good shape. All of our trucks are up and running as of today. So. And we'll be having a new one delivered next week to replace one of our really old ones.
Will the really old one, will we keep it in reserve? Will we get rid of the oldest one we got?
We're going to get rid of the oldest one that we have. So it'll transfer one of our trucks. It's actually out in Ridgetop. That'll be transferred to a reserve unit. It's got over 250,000 miles on it. So it'll be in a reserve status, and then we'll sell off one of the ones, the surplus.
That's even older than that.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. That's what that's.
That's all that I have on the board.
Thank you, Josh.
All right. If you look at this report, for the month of March of this year, we billed $490,558.80 on 609 billable runs. Our average charge per call was $805.52. Our total collections was $243,262.17, which was up from $209,408.10 last year at the same time. Our expenses for the month were $400,217.41, down from $406,982.72 the year prior. And our expense per call, because of the higher call volume that we were able to bill for, went down to $657.17 for the month. Now, right under that.
Hold it. Commissioner Wilson, that's a good example of fuzzy math right there. Go ahead.
Fuzzy math.
Well, when on our average, the price per call goes down. Well, it goes down because we're running around chasing our tail, and we got more calls.
Well, yeah,
Divide into the amount of money.
distribute your cost out.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and it's good to see that, but I'll stick to my point. There's no reflection on you.
No, none taken.
Absolutely
None
not.
taken. Just under that, the budget summary through 9 periods of this year, our budgeted revenue through 9 months of this budget is $1.7 million, 42,304.73. Our actual revenue to date was $1,673,294.54. So we're under what we projected so far after 9 months of $69,010.19. I talked to Jody today, and we kind of compared numbers from last year, this year, our projections, and where we feel like we'll end up based on where we are currently. And we kind of similar to last year, that we still project that we'll be about 2.35 million. We budgeted 2.72, so we'll still, she feels like, based on the way that we normalized after January, February, March last year into April, May, and June, that we'll still come out ahead on revenue. So
From what we budgeted?
yes.
Oh, by the way, are we're gonna have this done by July the 1st, Mayor? This new budget?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, there's no reason not to,
Okay.
unless something,
I commend you for that, Mayor.
it's not all me, it's department head. finance.
Well, it's your part's important. I commend you.
Tomorrow will go a long way, budget. Long way.
And we're presenting ours tomorrow as well.
Yeah, we'll actually tomorrow, it really, it's gonna,
Right.
we'll all be waiting on project scope at the moment.
Right. Our budgeted expenses based on our budgeted amount for the year, through 9 months, we would have expected $4.6 million, 36,193.99. Our actual expenses right now are $4,233,745. So currently, after 9 months, we're $402,448 under budget in expenses.
Do you see anything that caused that? Was it back those days, months ago, when we didn't have a full staff? Was it?
No, because we're still paying overtime when we don't have the
Understand.
full staff. But I think just to be honest, I mean, we're under a lot of scrutiny, and I think we've tightened up where we felt like we could, and we've tightened up to a point where, like if you look, and I'll show you in a minute on our next couple pages, you look at some of the line items that are just some of the discretionary spending that like uniforms. I mean, we've really tightened up to where we can, make a difference, I guess. And I'll touch on those line items to show you where we are. So the net effect on the general fund right now, we're between the revenue and the expense net is $333,438.17 positively.
Yeah, that's an excellent report. And I give you a good deal of that credit.
And Russell, And
And Russell, absolutely.
And Russell. So, but yeah, I mean, I think that's a lot of it. And, you know, we'll continue. That's why when we made the presentation, we felt confident
Yeah.
that we could make differences.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes when you just shine the light in the corner, you know, the ants and roaches and whatever, you know,
Yeah.
they go away. So,
Because we're gonna see a little bit of it on this next page, right?
well, we will. We lost a little ground here. This is the overtime utilization and the open position that, you know, we've committed to you guys to provide every month. Our total overtime for March was 111,871.54, which was up from 102 last month. And our percent of overtime as a total, you know, percent of total wages went up as well from 36 to 41%. And then our total premium overtime went up from 86.6 to 100,536. And our percent of premium overtime in total overtime went up from 84.3 to 89. Now, we did hire 2 people in the month of March, so it reduced us from 4 FTEs. We're short down to 2, but we do have 2 people out on work comp, and they're high-paid people. So one of them's a captain, so she's out, and then we do have another paramedic that's out. And so how do we keep the trucks up is we use overtime because we don't have the full-time people being down what we are in, you know, FTE wise. So we have to cover it with overtime, something to keep them up. So that's why the overtime percentage has gone up this month.
Right. And you mentioned it's a high-paid person because we continue their payroll.
Well, it's just a percentage, you know, it's not dollar for dollar, but it's a percentage of you know, whatever they get paid. So that's why it's, you know, but even having 2 people on work comp, you know, we don't have the luxury of, you know, having those bodies. So
Are they under the workers' comp protocol?
Yeah, I mean, they're going through the
Way
program.
coming back.
Yeah,
Do you
they're
agree
all,
with that?
yeah.
Okay.
So that's why
Don't let me
we've got.
put words in your mouth.
No. That's why we had the flip of overtime. But, you know, overall, I think we stick to what we're doing and we know is what's making a difference. And so, but when you have people out.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we can see it.
You're down.
So we're gonna I wanna keep seeing it.
Yeah, you'll keep tracking. Any questions about that? All right, now the next page, I did the summary on the front page that showed through the 9-month period. The back page is actually the line items, specifics of how those numbers come to be as far as expense goes. So you can see in number line item 131, right now that's our medical personnel. That's where all our paramedics and EMTs are paid from. Right now we're 164,269.04 under budget. So we've used 60% of our budget. Anything under 75 at this juncture through 3 quarters is accepted and considered under budget.
Right.
Our 169, this is something that Josh and I were talking about earlier. Part-time, the 169 line item, you know, we would have expected right now 155,250 expenditure-wise so far this year. Well, we've spent $44,044, which is a testament that we don't have a ton of part-time people, or that, you know, they just don't pick up. We've got 3 or 4 people that pick up overtime. Well, we don't have very many people that'll pick up part-time work. So therefore, we're 111,205 under budget in our part-time personnel. Now, in the overtime, 187, right under it, we're still 15,139.11 under budget. But that number as we get more part-time people, which we discussed in our presentation, the overtime number, you know, would go down. Therefore, we would be under budget even further. So as we're able to get people, those should flip-flop just a little bit. The other thing, Dan, I think on line item 338, we're under budget on the vehicle maintenance, 32,224.31. And I think that's a testament to the age of our fleet and the condition of our fleet age-wise. You know, you guys remember years back when we were struggling there, we were over budget, and I mean, we were really having issues.
Yeah.
And so I think that, again, being under budget there is a testament to the age of our fleet, or the lack of the age of the fleet. So, and, you know, retiring the one that we're retiring, going to make it reserve, and then surplus in the other. I mean, we feel like that's really what's driven this. Now, we don't have in our upcoming budget, we do not have a ambulance budgeted in that. You know, I talked to Jody, you know, we'll probably handle it like we did last year, depending on how things go. And I think we did an amendment for one, like in July, August, or I think it was August maybe. Just depending on how the funds are, you know, countywide and.
Yeah, this last one was paid for through our COVID money from the federal government.
That's correct. That's correct.
Did you put that money in both sides, the revenue side and expense side?
It did, yes.
Okay, so it didn't throw us out of,
No,
it's not
no,
in
we-
this $300,000 worth of the good, right?
No,
Good,
no.
right in.
No, I wouldn't do that one-sidedly because it'd be fuzzy math.
Could say that, could have been done.
I couldn't resist that. I was just picking at you. But anyway.
Yeah, bring it on.
Oh, no, you know I love you to death. So, the other one, line item 399, we're 30,560 under budget. Some of that is because we are a little behind in revenue. Therefore, that's an expense line that is directly conditional on the amount of revenue that comes in, because they take a percentage as our billing company. So that's why that's under budget, because we haven't paid them, because we haven't collected quite as much as we figured. So,
Okay.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, since I'm talking about that, on a side note, we are on track to change billing companies effective May 1. So that's coming up in a few days. And Josh and Tina have spearheaded the logistical, you know, getting this and that and the other filled out and done to make sure that we're ready to go there. And anything that you know of that is delaying that?
Nope, we are right on track for the first, but just to mention too, we've also, you know, on the revenue side, they'll be helping out quite a bit. Plus, they recommended a rate increase.
Right, I hope so. But let me say this right now. You know the extra work I did, Josh. I kind of honed in on Murray County, Sumner County, Logan County, Sevier County. Actually, kind of got to know those guys, and then talked to some other folks. A reoccurring theme from every one of them was the billing companies that they would hire would be great at first. They'd gradually get worse, gradually get worse, gradually get worse. They had to change. And they was telling me that, of course, I've seen that happen to us at least 3 or 4 times in the last several years. So let's get all we can out of our new company, but not get so attached that one of these days down the road we won't be ashamed about changing again.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, and that's kind of what we saw with our current company, you know, which is billing, and the revenue cycle is kind of it takes a lot to change, you know, I mean, because you have to go through the ramp up process, you know, because when we bill, you know, we'll tail off the revenue from the old company and ramp up the revenue from the new company. And hopefully everything evens out, and usually does. But, you know, to go through the changeover process is a process. And so you get kind of, I'm not going to say comfortable, but you do get, you just dread changing.
You sure don't want to change just for the heck of it.
No.
And if these guys hadn't been,
if
we didn't think they were leaving stuff on the table, we wouldn't be changing.
That's correct, absolutely. And part of our, you know, due diligence through our report that we provided to you guys, we felt like that there was money left on the table after looking at their most recent, call it last 6 months worth of, you know, work that they've done, and the number of denials of claims that, you look in the notes, and Tina and I would talk, and it's not necessarily followed up on the way it should have been. Call it 80% of the claims would go in clean and we'd be paid and no problem. Well, any building company can do that. Truly, they should be.
Anybody can do 80%.
They should be able to. Where you really make your money and make the difference is the ones that are denied the first time and the rework of the accounts receivable. That's really where you make your money. And when you're not doing that, and you're just writing them off to bad debt, or medical necessity not met, or whatever, and you don't fight for it, that's where you lose your money. And that makes the difference. It pushes you over the top. And those extra $2 or $3 or $4 or $5 a chart or run makes a world of difference. So that's why we really did that. Now, to Josh's point a second ago, so far through the process of getting all the paperwork and everything and letting them evaluate what we do and how we do it, they have came back and said that they would recommend a rate increase for us. So I approved it. It's not astronomical, but it's enough that it puts us in line with a lot of their other clients from an EMS standpoint. It won't make a big difference because we do have a very significant amount of government payers. And as you know, Medicare, Medicaid, TennCare, they're going to pay what they paid. I don't care what you can charge them $100,000, they're going to pay you $200 for doing this. So the rest of it's in contractual write-offs. So you will see some contractual write-offs that'll probably go up a little bit, but you will see some auto accident claims, some commercial insurance claims or something that still pay a percentage of charge. So you still will see a little uptick from those. So it'll make a little bit of difference, but not a ton. But you will see that. So, and not to mention that our rate is actually lower with this new company than we were paying. So we'll not only see a revenue increase that we'll track and bring to you guys for monitoring, we'll see a cost reduction as well.
In other words, what we pay them to do this for us.
Correct. Yes, yes, exactly. The next thing is drugs and medical supplies. We're under budget right now, $42,842.08, which is very significant. And I think that's, we've got some ideas and some things that are coming that are a system called Operative IQ that is a supply management system that'll even help us shave that off even more.
Great.
So
Great.
You'll hear more about that.
Great.
Coming. Gasoline, we're $14,994.24 under budget, which, we just had the luxury of, that happening. That's not something that we've done. It's just something that's not really in our control. And again, uniforms on line item 451. Right now we're $13,806. I think that's just from being more tight. And some of the other things,
That workers' comp's got to be a timing issue right there. I can't imagine.
Oh, well, that's the motor vehicles. What that is.
No, the workers' comp.
Workers' comp. Yeah, it is.
$80,000.
Yeah, it was just a calculation that went down. And that's for the month. You'll see that trail down and it'll go to zero at the end of the budget year. And then down under that, motor vehicles, it's the same calculation. It was 160. We actually went over 161,860. But to match the reports from the county, the statement of expenditures here, I had to list it this way based on the way that it's listed there. So again, the variances were to the good 402,448.37, which matches back to the number on the front page. So anyway, that's long-winded, but gives you a line item description of what's going on. And again, this is after the first quarter of the year. We gave it to you in January for October, November, December.
Perfect.
And this, so there's that.
Stay on that same schedule.
Yes, sir. The last thing is, did you get this? Is it there?
It should be in everybody's packet.
Okay, yeah. So this is the policy that we talked about, that we kind of tabled. Was it last month or month before? I think last month. And this is the way that it spells out how we would go about billing for our billing patients for the lift assist. When we go out and move somebody over 6 inches in the bed, or if we respond to a facility at night because the nurses don't want to pick them up or whatever, and there's a call to us to assist them to do that. So this is the policy that outlines it. And basically, in summary, and Josh, if you want to summarize it, or I can. I mean, it doesn't matter.
I can summarize it real quick. So basically, there's a couple different categories that we're requesting a bill for. The first one is what we call public assist or lift assist. That's the patient that's just, hey, I'm not hurt. I just fell out of my chair. I need help back up. The goal here is that every county resident will receive one free one a year. So after we go out there one time, we lift them out of the chair. Tina would send them a letter saying, hey, you receive your free one. The next one, you'll be charged $50 for each additional occurrence on that. And that goes right to the patient. Again, some of these patients are calling 20, 30, 40 times in a 6-month period. Now, some people only call once. So should the public assist or lift assist occur at a medical facility, typically it's going to be like an assisted living agency. And usually at night, they down staff. They'll go to one staff member. They call 911 to basically be their additional staff members. Those we billed at $300 and will go to the facility, not to the patient. So the patient wouldn't be charged for that. And that's basically a deterrent call because hey, you need to staff your place appropriately. So the next group of calls would be actual patient refusals. That's where we go to the scene, the patient has an injury or illness, and they just refuse to go with us. We've been called out there for whatever reason. We assess every one of these patients right now. We take their vital signs and we encourage them to go to the hospital. If they don't, those will be a $50 charge. Again, no treatment is provided, but we do assessments and take vital signs. Sometimes we will do treatments on these patients. We go to a car accident and let's say we have to bandage somebody's bleeding arm, for example. So we will do that on the scene. If they still don't want to go with us, those will be a $150 charge for that patient. Some of these calls when we provide treatments on, I mean, we're starting IVs, we've given medication, all that kind of stuff. So it's pretty significant calls sometimes.
But if you start an IV, that will fall to the insurance company or
only if we transport that patient.
only if we transport.
So typically we only do that on diabetic patients. Like if we wake somebody up that's got low blood sugar, we wake them up right there on their couch. They wake up,
start an IV and push.
start an IV, give them some sugar.
Yeah.
They wake up, they're like, this happens to me all the time. I don't want to go to the hospital. Well, we can't force them to go. We always try to talk them into going. Typically, we actually try to wake those people up in the truck, so they're kind of already moving down the road. But it's something like that where we would start an IV. But yeah, if we don't transport, we cannot charge for them for insurance-wise. The next set of patients are deceased patients. We go to a lot of these patients. If we don't do anything, we just show up, someone who's been deceased for some amount of time. Legally, there's some things that we have to do. We have to, of course, do a full assessment on the patient, declare them dead. We have to do a medical legal death investigation. Typically, we have a truck or supervisor tied up on a scene like that for anywhere from 1 to maybe 3 hours, doing everything that they need to do. So those will be a $50 charge just to kind of cover the time and any supplies expended. If we end up transporting those patients to the morgue or anything, we would do a $150 charge for those patients. Now, having said all of that, every one of these cases that comes in where we would consider billing those would all be done in-house. So Tina and Carrie and I would review all those. If it was going to put a hardship on somebody or something like that, at Rick's discretion, we can not bill for those as well on a case-by-case basis. I mean, this is all pretty much in line with other agencies we've spoken to. I think the closest one around here that does this is Williamson County. And that's where we got a lot of this stuff from. But this
Wilson
does Wilson does?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's what it's Wilson. I always get Wilson and Williamson mixed backwards. But it is Wilson County, so Several other ones across the state do it, across the country. This is becoming pretty common because it's not just our problem, like we talked about. This is EMS nationwide is becoming more of a almost home health sometimes.
Safety net.
Well, I'm sure you two have thought it through. What are we gonna do if they don't pay us?
Well, if they don't pay.
And they call again. So it really has two different things. What are we gonna do if they
Well,
don't
we have
pay
to,
us?
if it's a 911 call, we have to respond. I mean, we do. But if they don't pay us, I mean, we would go through the same collection process that we do for, when they have a patient balance after insurance. So we'll have a policy that we'll have to write if this is approved so that we're compliant, so that we're not, okay, fine, you don't have to pay it. And then this one you do, either you enforce it or whatever, just so we're enforcing uniformly across the board. So that, because if somebody comes in and audits us, we have to be consistent with how we administer that. So we'll do that, but we'll just go through the procedure that we normally do for patient balances. Now, we can't make them pay, but, just like somebody that's got insurance, I mean, you've got a ton of those that don't pay, but we still have to respond.
Did that doctor ever pay us?
No. Did not.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of have our hands tied. We can't. I mean, if I owned it and somebody owed me something and they call me again, I'll say, you call somebody else, don't call me.
In a
you can't do
business
that.
environment, in normal business environment, you're absolutely right. That's the way you would run your business. But in a public service like this, when you're running 911 service, you necessarily can't.
Well, I like the policy. I don't like the fact that it's a possibility that it might cause us more work.
No, we're
for
doing
nothing.
We're doing it now. We're doing these things now. We're just not being able to bill for it, bill the patients.
Yeah,
So-
I'm talking about the paperwork. I'm talking about the billing.
Oh,
yeah.
And the billing,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
then the
yeah.
collecting.
Yeah.
And then the fussing.
Right.
And then
That
I would
be
say,
minimal.
huh,
That's minimal. That's not going to be any burden.
you agree with that?
We'll be fine.
So now I will say, I talked to the chief at WEMA when we were first looking at this policy, and he said you would actually be surprised that people will pay this, the $50 fee. He said they'll have outstanding ambulance bills where they transport them, but they'll pay the $50 fee.
Oh, great.
So that
Right.
was encouraging. I was surprised when he told me that. So
Okay, now, refresh my memory. We tabled this so we could get the policy written. Is that what we did?
Well, I can't remember why.
Anybody else remember why?
Well, but, and I don't mean to open the can back up, but this is also something that Commissioner Moore and the fire committee because there was rumbling on that side about.
Yeah.
So we wanted to let that go by and just hear what that was about. So here we are.
We didn't have nothing on paper.
And that may be
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
I think
Hey, I like this
As
policy.
far as the fire department, I understand where they're coming from.
Sure.
They're on their own. I consider that a non-issue, us doing what we're doing.
I agree.
You think we should act on it tonight?
Well, I mean, that's entirely, I would
I
like to
think we
put
should,
it.
other than we are short-handed, we got 2 members absent, but
We got 3 votes, Commissioner Moore, Commissioner
I
Wilson,
understand.
and Commissioner
I'm
Moore.
just saying they're not here for their input. but I think-
We do have 3 votes.
I understand
Yeah, yes, we
that.
do.
We're gonna have 2 that ain't.
I actually talked to Commissioner Stubblefield about this very thing, and she said that
I think
she
everybody will be
definitely would
good with
support
it.
it.
I know she voted for it.
Hey, Don, can I ask a question?
Sure.
I think this is a great idea. I think the area that I hear the pushback coming from is on the refusals, where a large number of those were where the patient did not initiate the call, Ambulance responded on the MVA, ambulance responded on somebody passed out in a public place. They didn't ask for that ambulance. They didn't seek that treatment. They didn't want that call. So I think that's where we're really gonna see some pushback on the $50 fee.
And my plan, and that's a good point.
That makes sense.
Josh, my plan on that is to address that in the collection policy that we write. And how, if that is something that is, a bystander called, didn't want, nobody wanted it, let's say they were at a wreck and, they didn't call, or somebody associated with them didn't call, then we would have to address that individually. But I don't, I think you do have a point that we will encounter some of that.
Yeah.
I'll
Even
say-
on the MBAs.
That's a good point.
Even on the MBAs with treatment, I think it's fair to let them know,
Yeah.
we're happy to help you bandage up, give you a cold pack, make sure you're in good
Right.
shape, but you are going to receive a bill.
Well, and I think as part of our packaging, as far as the presentation to the patient of that, or the family, that's got to be in our disclosure. We have to be in full disclosure there.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I will say, and obviously been to tons of those calls. Usually police will call you out and the patient has no idea an ambulance was called and they get there, I don't know why you're here.
Yeah.
So when we write those up in our run tickets, even currently, we wrote it as no patient contact, no patient found. If they're not complaining or anything, they're like, no, I'm fine. I don't know why you showed up. Matter of fact, we just went on interstate, several of those. Those are no patient contacts, so there would be no billing information obtained. So hopefully that will curb most of them. But it's these calls, like you said, police call you out there and they're like, no, I didn't call you, and they're bleeding from the forehead or something. Then those may be a little bit
Or
different
they
situation.
refuse, and then 10 minutes later, they call you back.
Yeah.
From their house.
That's two bills.
I really, thinking about this, I really don't feel good.
And that happens a lot too.
Yeah.
They speak to their attorney and all of a sudden.
Right. You didn't write.
Hey, I do have one question. This is Stacy.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
So, what are the guidelines for the EMT and the paramedic when they go to the hospital to pick up a long-term care patient and say they're not transportable? Now, how is that so when they're at the hospital first off, and they're a long-term care patient in the nursing home? What gives them the right to refuse service?
Well, if it's a non-emergent transfer or transport back to a residence or long-term care, prior authorization, if they don't get prior authorization, we don't get paid for it and we can't bill for it, or we can bill for it, we won't get paid. The other thing is medical necessity. If they don't meet
Is that Medicare? Is that Medicare or Teen Care? Yeah.
Care is approval. Teen Care needs approval.
Yeah, Teen Care.
Teen Care needs approval,
Yes.
which is all of their patients. Long term is pretty much
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
Medicaid.
Right. So, that's the thing that, that we struggle with, because, we'll show up over there and, they'll say that they're bed bound on medical necessity, but yet we get there and they're, up and around or walking or, doing something that is obviously not being, not the same necessity. Our medics can write that.
Repeat that.
You there?
Yeah, can you hear me? Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
you were
yeah.
breaking up. Sorry, it must be me. It's my phone. Okay, so how is that something we can work closer with
Okay, here's Stacy. Chris Loss.
NHC?
Well, no, it's not NHC that's the issue. It's the hospital has to get a medical prior approval number since they're the transporting agency. And they're the ones that are not wanting to do it and don't want to do the legwork to do it so that we're able to bill and able to collect this. So I've working with Northcrest and Chris Locke over, the last year, but that's kind of fallen apart with all of the transactional talk, everything being said. We really haven't done that. So that's where really the work needs to be done. Now, I will say this, about a year, Josh developed a present basically for them to put into their health stream system to teach their nurses what exactly is medical necessity, how is it met, what it means for the prior approval number, and how they can help us, collect what we're doing, or actually be able to bill and collect for what we're doing. And It was never done, and we're where we are today, same place. So, we don't not want to transport anyone. I mean, we need the runs, we need the billable revenue and all of those things. But if they don't meet medical necessity, a lot of times, I'm just going to use NHC, but if, they have a van or something, this patient, just because they're in a long-term care facility does not mean they meet medical necessity for an ambulance transport. So, that's I think an educational thing too.
Well, I can work on NHC and have Tanya and Jada work on that part. So, but all we need is a prior authorization on those.
So, and here's what would help us immensely. When the hospital or the ER tells us or tells you that they have a patient ready to come back, if you can work with them and you say the same thing that we're saying, and your people say the same thing that we're saying, prior authorization number for non-emergent transports back to a residence, that would be helpful. I think it might push them over the edge to secure that and help us out, because we're frustrated. Obviously we're doing a lot of work and not getting credit for it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So I'll take care of my side, and we'll see if that doesn't mend that fence.
And just know, Stacy, anything that we can do to help you, you let us know, and we'll be happy to speak to anybody that we need to.
Okay, great. That's all I need. That's what I need. I'm ready to vote on that. I want to make a motion to move that forward. I mean, I know there's 3 of us, but I know how Commissioner Stubblefield. I haven't talked to Commissioner Spain, but I think he would be. I would hope he'd be with us, but he may not. But I think we have a quorum to do it, don't we, Commissioner Eden?
Yes, we do, Commissioner Moore. Thank you for your motion. Do I hear a second?
A second.
Thank you, Commissioner Wilson. Any further discussion? If not, then all those in favor of this motion to implement this policy signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
And just as a point of record, we'll put it in effect starting May 1st.
All right, perfect. That'd be perfect. Okay, anything else?
We present our budget tomorrow night.
Yep, I'll be here.
For that. There's not, just so you guys know, there's not a lot. We basically worked with Jody, and there's nothing there other than a service contract for our monitors that are on our trucks. We had a situation where we had one that went kaput, and it was around $5,000 to fix it. Well, this whole thing is, what's the total on, like 12?
Over 12,000.
Yeah, right at just 12. So one incident eats half of that per year. And these things are going to be aging as we go. So there's that. And a little bit of an increase in postage because of the bills that we're going to be sending out, the policy that you guys, so we did increase that just a little bit, but not tremendously. So other than that, it'll be a pretty static budget that you'll see.
With what we collect, we should make money. Commissioner Moore, Commissioner Wilson, y'all have anything else?
I don't. I vote to dismiss.
Do I hear a second? All those in favor signify by standing up. This meeting's
Bye.
Go get 'em, Stacy.